stick around because you know him, you love him. Celebrity historian Raffi Andonian's joining us next. Stick around.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back into North Dakota today. Well, as many of you know at home, my Europe trip with Colette is right around the corner, but I'm not an expert on European culture and history, so we had to call in some reinforcements. Celebrity historian Raffi Andonian is joining us via Zoom to share more about some of the key spots that we are going to visit on this upcoming trip this month. Good morning.
Good morning, and awesome that you're going to do the trip.
Yes, and some of the viewers at home actually are going to come along with me on this trip as well, so I bet they're excited to hear from this.
Awesome. I love it.
Yes.
I love it. That's excellent.
Yes. Okay, so we are starting off in Bern, Switzerland. What can you tell me about this?
Yeah, Bern is a World Heritage Site. So UNESCO, which is the education arm of the United Nations, designated World Heritage Site for a few reasons. But really, it kind of comes together as a 12th century city. So we're talking about a city that's 900 years old. That's an excellent example of strong planning. And then over the generations, kind of reinventing itself and planning layers across it. So for example, in the 16th century, you have the addition of fountains. In the 17th century, you have the addition of limestone-like homes. And in the 18th century, there's quite a bit of reconstruction that takes place. And yet today, it serves as the capital city of Switzerland. So it's a great example of how a 900-year-old city can evolve and serve as a capital today. And has some cool planning elements that we see to this day. For example, a very wide street for, like a market street for commerce, for example, subdivisions, having smaller streets on the sides. But think about sort of, in the United States, we have broad streets and Broadway, in Fargo, there's Broadway Square and Broadway North. And those are still places that people come together for commerce and a lot of activity. And you see that encapsulated in Bern.
Yes, absolutely. And I actually heard that, people that lived in the city, 500 years ago would probably still be able to find their way around.
That's right. Isn't that crazy? That's
yes.
A well-planned city right there.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so we actually are going to have some cultural experiences too on the trip, like yodeling, fondue.
Yep.
What can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so when you think about yodeling, it's really, I would say, music, right, that we're talking about. And I also noticed on your itinerary you had the Alp horn, which is, of course, big kind of Swiss horn. You're going to see like how it's made, And both of those were actually both the instrument and the voice of yodeling were actually designed first as communication, like for sheep herding and so on, or between mountain towns, because mountains. You not always have, the towns can be remote, right? So you don't always have direct communication. So that kind of carrying of sound can be very helpful. It has evolved over time. There you go. You're seeing the Alp horns right there on your screen.
Yeah.
And it has evolved over time to become a type of folk music, right? And so it's kind of a symbol of Swiss culture. Now, look, so if you're going to go out there, you got to practice some yodeling. I was trying to do it here. And the key is to go from your throat to your chest and back to your throat. So let's give it a shot. Yodel it, hee hoo, yodel it, hee hoo. That's my practice attempt.
I never know what you're going to pull out during these segments. I love it.
And if it didn't sound good, it's the microphone's fault. I promise my skills are amazing.
That was good. I really need to be practicing that. I love that. Okay, so I also know that some of the regions that we'll be going to are well known for their food, fondue, chocolate, even, like wine and beer. Do you want to tell me about that?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of it has to do with the fact that you're in a mountainous region. So, for example, fondue is an attempt to use old cheese and old bread in areas that have a long cold season. So you may not always have fresh ingredients on hand, right? And then being in a mountainous region, some other cultural stuff include like skiing, for example, right? And did you know Switzerland was involved in ski warfare at some point, believe it or not? In the 19th century, skiing was a form of warfare. There's actually a manual for how to conduct war on skis, believe it or not.
Wow.
So it's kind of crazy to think about. At some point, the king of Sweden actually, in the process of all this warfare, abdicated his crown. So they left this country of Sweden, no longer king. So this stuff was pretty serious in that part of the world. Now, skiing also, of course, is a big part of, when you think about Austria. And I noticed that you're also going to Innsbruck, right?
Yeah.
And Innsbruck has a famous ski jump. and that you'll see one of the earliest, if not the original, ski jump there. And what's really fascinating to me about the ski jump is the fact that, if you think about it, like today, there is like maybe almost 1,000 feet is a record, which is like a fifth of a mile, and they go about 150 miles on that. So look, I'm a skier too. So I got my helmet here. I got my ski helmet. My ski jumps are only like 20 or 30 feet, and I haven't gone 150 miles, but I have gone like 80 miles. I've clocked myself at 80 miles an hour. I'd say that's pretty good.
Wow.
And these huge skis that were like long, wide, and very stiff, so you can really ride them hard and like get that real speed. Now, in the 1924 Olympics, 100 years ago, you had the ski jump, so it's like one of the original Winter Olympic activities too, believe it or not. So you're going there in the summer, but maybe I'll let you borrow this thing so you can, speed through the skiing yourself.
That's amazing. Okay, so we have about a minute left, but I think that we should really quickly touch on Bavaria, because this is, a world famous region within Germany, and it has its pretty own unique cultural traditions there.
It does. Bavaria is incredible for a variety of reasons. There's a famous monastery there that's several hundred years old, which is really cool to see. Monasteries were very important in education, actually, in the medieval times. And a lot of books that we have to this day from that period were written in monasteries because of that educational emphasis. That's part of the reason we even know medieval history, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And you can't talk about monks without talking about beer. Now, while of course, the folks at monasteries, the monks, made ales, Bavaria is also known for starting lager, believe it or not. So you have both kinds of beer there. So you got to enjoy some beer, both ale and lager when you're there. Because Bavaria is also the home of Oktoberfest when you think about it. And I want you that when you have this beer, I want you to maybe have a couple beers and then go to an opera, because opera is also very important in Austria and Bavaria. And of course, you're going to be seeing the birthplace of Mozart, which I noticed that as well. And I say this real quick about opera. I brought my opera pants right here. They're unique pants that I wear to the opera. I love going to opera, played violin growing up, classical violin. And what Mozart was known for was taking and emphasizing the spectacular music component of opera. Opera, of course, has beautiful singing. Mozart added that part. And one of the funniest examples I'll give you that I'll tie to the modern day is the fact that he loved high drama, like Don Giovanni is an example of that. Today, the term soap opera comes from operas. We just took it and added the soap part because it's daytime, it's supposed to be daytime on television. And so in soap operas, you have drama, just like Mozart operas have drama. That's where the soap opera term comes from, believe it or not. So you're going to a really huge cultural region, a lot of course, food, arts, culture, and of course, physical activity like skiing.
I love it. Well, thank you from me and all the other viewers that will be going on this Colette trip. We take off on August 13th, and everyone is so excited. I've been hearing from other folks who are coming on the trip as well. So thanks for this great preview.
Yeah, enjoy all that stuff, and engage with the sites that you're at. When you're in a cathedral, walk up the steps. When you're in the landscape, make sure you take a stroll outside, sort of the main area. I think that's how the best to enjoy those areas. I've been to Austria and I've been to Bavaria, and I think it's really fascinating region. It's one of my favorites.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much, Raffi. If you want more information on him, you can check him out on social media at The Celebrity Historian. Thank you again, and everyone at home, don't go anywhere. More North Dakota Today right after this short break.